Hi, and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice. I'm Jeannie Rice, your co-host. We also have Dr. Tim Hayes with us, and we welcome you to the show. Today is Wednesday, July 29th, 2015. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, and that puts you in queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. Welcome, Michael. We're not hearing you. And we are on day 6 of our 16-day Laws of Living intensive. Are you there?
Yes, and I was mute challenged.
Okay.
But I am now unmuted. How cool is that? Anyway, thank you for that introduction, and delighted to have everybody here with us today to inquire into this ancient study, this ancient understanding of how to truly live as a human being, how to truly live in the active presence of love that we are designed to act in as human beings. And our definition of a human being is very simple. If you hold a newborn child, you know exactly what a human life is. You know exactly what a human being is. And we're here to bring forward the understanding of how to reflect that state of beingness in everything that we do, everything that we say. And this morning I was processing some of our intensive from yesterday and a song from back in the, I don't even know, probably the 70s, maybe the 60s, a group called the Animals. And one of the things we're looking at in Laws of Living is the filters in the mind and how this structure really works. And the song that came to mind from the Animals, and the line that came forward was the line that says, "Please don't let me be misunderstood." You remember that tune? "Oh, Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood." And, of course, everybody wants to be taken for who their intentions are, and interesting how much of the work is included, how much insight is included in this simple tune. And so here they are singing, "I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood." And then goes on to say, basically, when I'm functioning as a human, sometimes I'm so carefree with a joy that's hard to hide. And then he talks about when carbon-based memory kicks in. And sometimes it seems that all I have to do is worry, and you're bound to see my other side. I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. And, you know, that's a prayer of a lot of people that came up in the intensive yesterday, and it's everybody wants that to be so. Well, I have these wonderful intentions, and if we don't understand how this device called the mind works, we wonder why someone could possibly misunderstand us because our intentions are so clear. But we forget that the way the device works is that everything that we intend, in order to become behavior, has to pass through a database. And if in the database there's something unlike our intentions, i.e., let's say someone says, I intend to be so loving in my relationship, but in my file, so to speak, on relationships, you know, I go back and I was abused, and, you know, I had a parent, a power person who abused me, who was always telling me what was wrong with me and how I could never do it good enough. Or I had a parent, the issue that came up the other day was a parent that was always taking over the child's projects to do them properly because the child couldn't do them properly. Instead of properly teaching the child, the parent would take them over. And the individual in the intensive, as an example of what we're talking about, had someone who, you know, they've been interacting with and have a good relationship with, And all of a sudden one day they start to get these vitriolic emails from this person with no concept of why that would happen. I get all these emails, one after another, this vicious emails. And then as that was being processed, forgiveness takes place, drop into a next level of the mind. And what this individual was able to see was, when my power person interacted with me, one of the things that I really hated that they did was they would take over my projects and do them for me. And lo and behold, that was the power person dynamic that had played out that stimulated these vitriolic emails. Well, I'll just tell this person what to do and how to do it, and then everything will be okay. Exactly like the power person. The purity of intention has to come through the content of the database. And if the file, say for instance, on relationship holds unresolved, unforgiven abuse, then the purest, most loving intentions coming through the file on the relationship picks up and sprays out, so to speak, the energy of the abuse that's in the relationship file. And so one is perceived through what they hold within them. You go back to Paul and he says, we see as though through a glass darkly. We not only see as though through a glass darkly, but we are seen through the darkness in our own carbon-based memory system and content. And we wonder why, because we don't see that. And of course, why don't we see those things in ourselves? Because we tend to live in a world of denial. And what does denial look like? Well, I think or I speak as though someone else is the cause of what's happening inside of me. When I do that, every time that, let's say, the pain of that particular dynamic we just spoke about, of parent power person taking over projects and just doing them like the child was stupid or dumb or incompetent. When the child wasn't stupid or dumb or incompetent, the child just didn't know how to do whatever it was. They needed to be taught. But the parent would step in and take it over. And so when that energy is resonating, then we're perceived through it as well as we perceive from it. And the energy of that perception becomes the energy when it moves in us. Every energy that moves sets up an energy wave, so that energy literally is sprayed on the people around us. And so if there's an unresolved power person dynamic of hurt, of fear, of pain, then when one comes through with the purest and the greatest of intentions, you remember in the ancient teachings they said the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Intentions aren't the key. They're just a starting point. Thinking that intentions run the system, and I know there are people out there writing books on the power of intention, but thinking that intentions will do anything for you, that's kind of like thinking that if I put the key in the door to unlock the door of the car, I'm now driving down the road. Excuse me, you're not driving down the road. All you did was put the key in the door. That's just the starting point. There's a whole lot more to the process of driving down the road. So anybody who's talking about intentions having the power has put the key in the door of the car, but they're a long way from driving down the road. We're a long way from what expresses from us energetically and what comes up in us that creates our perception. And so the work of forgiveness, as I gave the example, when this person who was totally bamboozled and baffled by the vitriolic emails that he got, all of a sudden went, oh my God, what have I done? Because I thought I was totally innocent. But the very thing that his power person did to him that he hated the most was exactly what he did. And for most people, when the stress is up and the chips are down, they're controlled by that power person dynamic. And until we're willing to go inside and clean that up, then that'll be the energy that, number one, we see through, number two, we are seen through, and that we spray within our own cellular structure and spray on everybody in the environment. We literally, if you haven't been with us, so we've talked about Marcel Vogel. I used to keynote at a conference called Global Science. This goes back over 3 decades ago. And 1 year, Marcel Vogel, 23 years senior scientist from IBM. This is the man who invented the magnetic coating that allows you to have a hard drive in your computer. He invented that for IBM. He was a senior scientist with IBM. So this is the kind of mind he had. And Marcel's got a camera that takes a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. So if, let's say, one of those unresolved power person dynamics is moving in me, that energy moves. And imagine that I'm standing underwater and I'm spinning around holding a pail of water in my hand. What happens? 360 degrees from that moving pail of water, we have a wave going out. And in exactly the same way, whenever an energy moves in us, let's say an unresolved power person dynamic moves in us, an energy goes out. And that energy is sprayed on everyone around us. And if the dynamic is based in hostility or fear, then what we're spraying on them is our hostility and fear, and it's very acidic. And most people don't like, even if they're not aware of what is happening to them, they don't like to be sprayed with acid. Even if it's a subtle energetic level that they're not conscious of, it's like, ooh, there's something uncomfortable, something not right here. And at the same time, we need to recognize that that same energy is being sprayed within our own cellular structure. And then the next level at the same time is to recognize that that energy moving in us is what's creating and constructing our perceptual output, the reality in our minds, literally constructing the whole world that we see. So when you enter into forgiveness, actual first century Aramaic forgiveness, that word means remove. And so now I'm removing the energy that created my perception, that clouded the way people see me, that sprayed all over my cellular structure. And as I remove that, of course miracles happen, because when I stop spraying the acid of hostility or fear on people, when I stop perceiving and reacting to people through my own internal denied hostility and fear, I get to see a whole different world. And I get to spray a different energy on people. And people who I spray love on are generally pretty happy about it. But when I'm spraying hostility or fear on them, they're not happy about it at all. And it's mostly a totally unconscious dynamic. And it's not until you raise your awareness to the level where you are conscious of those subtle energies that you can do anything about it. So we're here to support you becoming conscious of all of those dynamics, understanding the principles by which the universe operates, and interacting and engaging consciously, purposely, cleaning up the hidden parts of the mind so that if my intentions, as this song said, I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. If my intentions are good, they come through a clean database. I spray a clean, loving energy on them. I spray a clean, loving energy on myself. I create a clean, loving, perceptual reality construct in my mind. The whole world is different. Everything's different. So that's what we're here to understand and to help everyone to grasp and understand that we don't live in a physical universe, we live in an energetic universe, and the work is about cleaning up what never belonged. And so we're honored to have you with us to share this time and to share these tools. And let's say hello to Dr. Tim and see how that young man be. I think you had a support group last night, right?
We did indeed.
Awesome. How'd it go?
It went very well. We watched the second half of Laws of Living.
Oh, so you're right with us then. That's cool.
And we had one brand new person there and 12 other people and myself and some people who hadn't been there for a while and somebody who came loaded up with intense emotions. He was anxious to do a worksheet on and ended up doing a very powerful worksheet that opened up a lot of energy space for a lot of people. And here's a mature adult. And he's a mature adult, and he had an issue about some work performance as a mature adult. And when he identified his thoughts and the emotions and the goal, the trigger, and released it and asked to be shown the hidden part of his mind that was actually causing the upset, which is what the worksheet process is about, he got an image of himself as an infant and traumas that happened at infancy. And it was very powerful. There were a number of people in the room who were having similar issues because those issues in infancy resulted in thought patterns and beliefs and energy patterns in this adult in which he's always feeling alone and he's always feeling that he has to prove himself and fearing rejection, etc. And so, as you might well imagine, that's a very common set of issues for us human adults in this culture. So he opened a wonderful space, did a lot of energy moving. We ended up pausing the worksheet process and doing several rounds of tapping and then getting back and completing the worksheet process and letting other people have input. It was just a very powerful evening, very powerful evening.
Well, it's interesting how something from, a mature adult, I don't know how mature, but if we're talking somebody 60 years of age, how something, 59 years ago is still impacting feelings, perception. I mean, it's all there. And so much of that happens before the age of 3 that, it's just lost until you go in and do that forgiveness process and bang, you're right there. And even genetically, we had a young lady who was at the 10-day Food Fund Forgiveness and Work Program. And at one point she shared, and this is one of the skills that we're about supporting people developing, being able to decode that stuff. Someone at 60 years of age might experience themselves feeling, I've got discomfort in my liver, over on my left side and my right side and my thigh, and I don't know what that's about. And somebody who's done some work might be able to decode that and be able to touch in and go, I have the memory of being 3 months of age or 2 years of age and what happened. And it is definitely one of the skills to be developed, and this young lady has really been doing her work. And she was dealing with an issue of sexual abuse where she had not been sexually abused. And as she went through the process, she asked, where is this coming from? And she saw and heard her grandmother and was given information about her grandmother being sexually abused. To get to decode this stuff, and it takes some skill, it takes some practice. Many people can't even decode their own feelings at any given moment because they've been so locked down and so shut down and so in denial that as you start to open and these things flower, it's just so exciting to be able to get a hold of them and move them out and to watch people live free of those things it's so rewarding, isn't it? So amazing.
It is, and as I listen to you say that, I have the brain cells fire about what you so often say, that if you think you're a physical body, what Dr. Rice just said on this internet show is absolute bunk. How could something that happened to someone's grandmother or great-grandmother be affecting their physical sensations, and how could they get input about it to have an understanding, and how could it then go away? It's just, if you think you're a physical body, that's nonsense. And part of the understanding that comes from so many different ancient traditions is we're an energy system. We are not just the physical body, we're the effects of energy that we interpret as physical, and we're energy, and we're connected to everyone and everything all the time. Some of the greatest minds in history have told us this again and again. So that's how it makes sense, and that's how it's such a powerful tool.
It definitely takes us to the next level, doesn't it? And that is always so exciting. It's just so exciting and so rewarding to watch people who get that. And, not everybody's ready for that. It takes time. You have to build the brain cells for having that kind of and that level of understanding. And then once you start seeing the world that way, I mean, everything just opens and opens and opens. It's just beyond comprehension to the world mind, if we were to speak about the standard way that the world looks at things and sees things. And to get free of the limits of the world mind and step into the truth of who we are is so awesomely powerful.
Yeah, and some of the most amazing, rewarding interactions I've had with people are with those people who buy into this, explore it, learn from it, and are actually managing aches and pains, physical symptoms, things that would take most of the other people in their world to a physician or an emergency room or a surgeon, and processing through those experiences and discomforts and coming out on the other side with no medications, no surgeries, no physical therapies, and routinely doing that. Now, these are people who really buy into it and who really apply the tools. They aren't people who just hear one radio show and say, oh, well, that's me too, and then hope for the best. These are people that I've had I would say the privilege of working with and being around when they choose to do their work, who have demonstrated to me and themselves over and over and over again the truth behind your words, that we're an energy system, and when I have a discomfort, if I take a pill to get rid of the discomfort, I've just decided to hide from myself what's really going on. I've done nothing to resolve the underlying issues, and it will come back again later when it's even worse.
That's the way it works. For sure. And so it's kind of fun to go back and look at these lyrics and hear from a different, I can remember when I was a young person listening to this music and thinking it was pretty cool, but looking at how deeply they understood, and in this case are asking not to be misunderstood. It's just pretty cool. Pretty cool. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh, Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. And, of course, nobody wants their other side to be seen. No, we want to keep that happening. Don't you know I'm only human, have thoughts like any other one. Sometimes I feel myself long regretting some foolish thing, some little simple thing I've done. All stored within us, and time to work through it. So let's check with Jeannie and see if she has anybody with a hand up in the phone queue or anybody in the chat room or emails with questions. Sweetie?
I just checked my email, and I have not gotten any responses that require a question here on the radio show. And chat room's quiet, but we do have a hand up. So our caller is area code 847. You're on the air. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Erica. How is everybody?
Oh, hey there, young lady.
I'm calling from my mom.
I just had you in my mind and in my words.
I know, you were talking about my grandmother.
Yeah, you want to share any more about that? I'm glad you're here.
No, I'm glad you actually shared it because I forgot about that. And I know I wrote notes, but I haven't gone back to them yet. So
really? Well, it's interesting, when we touch into things that are heavy duty like that, the mind says, no, we just need to put this away again.
Yeah, it's true.
And, so that's cool.
I'm actually calling because I have something on the surface, and I know I'm not thinking clearly because the thought I wrote down is a mess. So I need help setting up a worksheet.
Great. Let's see how we can support you.
Okay. So I attend a writing group, and I was on our website downloading all the pieces that were up for critique, and one of the women posted a piece that is just like an outline of her novel. And so I couldn't email her because she doesn't have that function available, so I just posted a comment on the group page asking if that was the correct document she wanted to upload. Well, we've gone back and forth where I don't think she's understanding me, which means I'm probably not understanding her, and then I think she's being defensive, but I know I'm being defensive. And so I'm trying to do a worksheet on this because I'm just angry at the situation.
So the first thing to do, Erica, is to recognize your denial.
I know I'm totally denying it. I know I am.
So did you hear how your denial works? Did you hear what you just said that was actual denial? That'll be one of the first big steps. It'll open ahas for you.
It was the last sentence I said where I said I'm angry at the situation.
Yeah. Right. So there's, and just for anybody who's new to the work, we'll help people build brain cells. Our definition of denial is exactly that. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of something inside of me, then in order to keep pretending that the cause is outside of me, I have to hide the cause that is inside of me. So I dissociate from what I deny. So the first step I would invite you to do is to let go of that denial and language from a responsibility perspective of, I realize that this interchange with this woman is bringing up a lot of anger for me.
I hear you, Michael, but I just am not ready to say that. Oh.
Yeah, you want to stay out with being her fault, eh? Okay, I understand.
I knew I needed help.
Now, let me see now. This is the first time in your whole life you've ever experienced this quality of anger with this new person, right? The first time you've ever...
No, it's not the first time I had this anger, but it is the first time that the anger has been resonated through an interaction with this person.
So let me just get clear now. So you're acknowledging that you've been through this 87 different times with 42 different people, but this time it is actually her fault.
Yes. Yes.
Are we a riot?
I know. All right.
So how about just a little practice run? Just like, don't necessarily say it like you mean it, but just kind of like, this interaction is bringing up my anger. Just try that.
All right. This interaction is bringing up my anger.
And breathe.
And it's doing it very well.
Cool. So isn't it awesome that you can hit a few strokes on a keyboard and some things happen in the electronic world on a screen, and that can make you angry? Isn't that just, the most amazing thing?
It's something else.
Yeah. So it sounds like she's giving you a gift with this interchange with her. Have you ever had this kind of confusing interchange with anyone else in your life ever?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
If you went back and just kind of remembered, like, the first time you can remember having a confusing interchange with someone, what would that memory be like?
I don't have a memory surfacing, but I could imagine one. Do you want me to just imagine it?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I would probably be little and saying something to my mom, and she probably would take it as being rude or disrespectful, and then she probably told me to not say that or to say something else or to suppress it in some way.
And if you breathed into that and were able to embrace that anger that comes up in that kind of interaction, what would happen?
I don't think I heard your question. What did you say?
Yeah, it's called going unconscious, and that's okay. So if you were to be able to simply be the space of love and hear your mother's frustration, anger coming at you and wanting to shut you down, if you could just be the space of love and embrace that, what would happen?
I would react lovingly towards her, regardless of what she said or did.
Mm. Would that change your relationship with your mom?
Very much so.
Yeah. So this worksheet's going to give you the gift of the opportunities to change your relationship with your mom.
Okay, Michael.
And so the setup on the worksheet for me would look like, I'd start out with my name. I, Erica, who am loved, feel anger.
Okay.
And the number 1C, do you have the name of this person?
Yeah, I do. It's Tanya.
Okay, so Tanya responds to my emails with, what would that be?
Defensiveness.
Defensiveness. Okay, responds to my emails with defensiveness. And then if you went to the next step in 1D, her being defensive brings up anger for you. So what would be the thought that you would have to hold in order to have anger pointed at Tanya because she's defensive?
Probably something along the lines of no one understands me. I don't know if that lines
Okay. Sounds perfect. Yeah, so that'd be number 1D. No one understands me.
This
And
is
then your
much
punishment
better.
thought. Say it again.
The thought that I wrote before was Tanya is an idiot. And then I looked at it and I was like, I need to call it.
Yeah. Well, let's hold the space and be a little more loving, gentle, and respectful with Tanya.
Thank you.
Because Tanya's probably sitting on the other end thinking, why am I not getting clear emails from this woman? What's going on? Is she an idiot?
Okay.
It's perfect. It's wonderful when people have matching bags of garbage. And so what's your punishment thought toward her?
I just want to yell at her.
Okay. So when the stress was up and the chips are down, what did your power person do with you?
She yelled at me.
Okay. So is it a really solid goal for you to want to be faithful to the power person dynamic in your bloodline?
No, it's not.
No. So you'd be willing to question that and let go of it?
Yeah.
What if you lived in a world where anybody could do anything, and you just didn't have the capacity to yell? You only had the capacity to speak in a loving, gentle, respectful voice. How would your life change?
It'd be much more peaceful.
Cool. Is there any punishment thought toward yourself?
Yeah, I want to remain angry.
Okay. So if you took a minute and just, go ahead and let yourself go with that anger and feel it. How does it feel in your body?
There's a lot of tension.
Feel pretty good?
No, not at all. It feels awful.
Okay. So if you took a breath and let go of the anger, and remembering that anger is always secondary, it's a drug. If you took a breath and let the anger soften and let it go, what would be under the anger?
Michael, I don't want to get sad right now because I have to go do something at 1 o'clock with other people.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
So then what would be under would be sadness.
Undoubtedly, there's always sadness under my anger.
So how would your life be if you were to, number one, literally let go of and not have the capacity for anger again, ever, and that you had no capacity for sadness whatsoever, no ability to produce sadness? how would that look in your world?
It's very difficult to imagine.
Mm-hmm. So do you see why you can't create it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what if you went in, because you've just given me conflicting messages. You start out with a message of, I want to get this worksheet set up and get through it, and then when you start to get down to what the worksheet's really about, which is your sadness, the conflicting message is, oh, well, I don't have time for this right now. I've got to go meet with some people. I don't want to be sad.
I just wanted to know the thought, and then I wanted to hang up, and you could go to another caller.
Oh, but we're not finished yet. We're going to go to step 3. And we'll quickly jump over, I'm willing to go through the symptoms of healing. I'm willing to embrace all of my generations. And then in number 3, what is it you want from Tanya?
I don't see the point in finishing the anger worksheet because now I'm just sad, and I think I should just do a sad worksheet.
Yeah, well, but this is your sad worksheet. It's all the same. The anger was just a cover. It's all the same worksheet. It all comes from the same place. And just let me take an offhanded, wild, probably way out in left field guess, and that was that through your life and especially your early childhood, that when people didn't understand you, there was probably a lot of sadness.
It's not so left field.
Maybe rejection. Maybe messages that you interpreted as, or maybe were actually delivered as, this girl is an idiot. Because notice that's what wants to spew out of your mouth toward Tanya. And you and I don't know, and cancel this thought about Tanya, but Tanya might be someone who's disabled, locked in a wheelchair, and types with a straw in her mouth. I don't know. She might be. And if that were true and you knew that about her, you'd probably have a great deal of compassion rather than spitting out your power person judgment.
That's true.
So what would your goal be for Tanya? If you were to tap into what do I want from Tanya here?
I want her to understand me, to connect with me.
Great. Okay. Now there are 2 different worksheets. Right now, you're starting to get into a hydra. So I take, you've got a worksheet you've done so far, number 3. I want her to understand me. And then I take a second worksheet, and I put that goal of, I want her to connect with me. 2 different goals, 2 different worksheets. You could backfill the second worksheet with all the things that are there from the start of the worksheet, but now we'll work with a second worksheet with the goal for her to connect with you. But let's stay with the one of for her to understand you. Okay. So that's your goal in number 3. So then in number 4, you effort and tap into bringing the active presence of love. So let's just we'll join and we'll ask everybody in the community. Everybody, I know there's a lady probably listening in France, and we've had some people from Australia and all kinds of different places in the Middle East. So let's just invite the whole community right now to focus on spraying Erica with the active presence of love. And Erica asks you to focus on what strongly resonates that presence of love in you. Yeah, nice breath. What's happening?
I gotta do a worksheet on you because I'm pissed at you right now.
Say it again. You've got to do a worksheet on me because I didn't get the because.
Because I'm mad because I said I have to go do something at 1 and you kept pushing.
I love it.
I'm glad you
okay,
love
it. Well, you know something, Erica? Let me share something with you, Erica. You are the first person in history that's ever had to do a worksheet on Michael Rice. Okay, it's just now you other guys that are laughing in the background, you stop that. I think that was Jeannie's little cough in there. And I know Dr. Tim wouldn't put a cough in there because it's never been a necessity for him either. So, what fun. So how about I bring the presence of love, and I cancel my need for Erica to understand me. And just let your tail self tap into all the times in life where you've wanted to be understood, and you haven't been, and the sadness you have about that. And you can burn that off in an instant and be 10 times brighter and 10 times more intelligent by 1 o'clock to do your meeting. I promise you. Slugging this layer of stuff into the meeting won't serve you. So I cancel my need for Erica to connect with me. And I invite Ruka, that super processor. For those who are new to the work, we work with the ancient Aramaic idea of Ruka Dekuchi, which is a feminine elemental force in us that undoes the effects of ours and teaches us the truth. So just, as you cancel that goal, just invite Ruka to process this sadness and this anger that your mind tells you is about people not being clear with you and people not connecting with you. But the truth is, it's about the contents of your mind that comes from 1,000 times where that kind of event happened in your world. It sounds like this is like a major core issue that's going to be one of those life changers for you. So just cancel that goal and ask Ruka for support. And then in number 6A, just make a note of how you feel. And in 6B, if you look at the whole situation as you started talking about this interaction with Tony, what does it look like to you now? And breathe. Good breath.
It just looks like an event. It just looks like.
So do I understand that just looking like an event, that instead of a stimulant for disturbance, it's more of just something that happened? It's like
Yeah.
neutral?
Yeah, it looks neutral.
Cool. And as you cancel that goal and invited Ruka for support, was there any memory that came to mind? If you just hang with that for a minute, did anything surface?
No, nothing I've not seen before.
Oh, but it doesn't matter whether you've seen it before or not. That's okay if you've seen it before, but just what was it that you've seen before that you kind of dropped into again?
I'm about 5, and I've learned how to read. And I'm driving my dad's driving, my mom's in the passenger seat, I'm in the back seat, and I'm reading aloud everything I see. And if I can't read the word, I'm asking what the word is. And after some time, my mom just starts telling me to shut up, that I'm being annoying.
Interesting how this has got to do with you reading something for this online course you're taking, or a group that you're involved in, and here it is, it's about reading, and up comes all this energy. It was interesting yesterday in the class, and I'm sure Ari will be fine with me sharing this, but someone else was processing an issue, and he kind of got in touch with a similar issue, and he was probably about 5, and he had watched his father using a drill. And then he went down to the workshop one day by himself at about 5 years of age and was able to put a drill in the drill bit, or a drill bit in the drill, and get it plugged in and started drilling holes. And he was just so proud of himself because he drilled holes everywhere. including through an electric wire where he got shocked. But when Dad showed up, the 5-year-old just couldn't understand him being so proud of, look, Dad, I put the drill together, and look at all the holes I drilled everywhere. It's like, but those are the things that stick with us, and that we need to forgive in order to be clear in, here I thought this was about something that was happening online, and the truth is, it's about me sitting in the back seat of the car being shut down, which is in essence kind of what your punishment thought was with her, right? Shut her down.
Yeah.
She's confused. She's an idiot. Shut her down.
It's one of
Same kind of message your power person delivered to you, right?
Yeah, calling her an idiot and the yelling are two of the 3 things that came up in that worksheet we did at the 10-day.
Yeah.
Power person, earliest memories.
So just breathe into that and let yourself feel that through your whole body. Where that energy is stored in your body, what it feels like, and just be aware that you've got a whole community of people all around the globe right now focusing the active presence of love on you, supporting that melting and dissolving out of every cell, out of your genes, out of your genetics. Maybe even melting that stuff out of Mom's genes, because you can bet that if Mom played that out when she was under stress, that when she was 5, somebody turned to her and tried to shut her down and tell her how irritating they were and how stupid they were and all of those things. So just open the space that as many generations as that game's been going on in your bloodline, that it can dissolve. And that you as a woman, should you choose at some point to have a child, that when your child is 5, is enthused about something that doesn't fit with your goals and doesn't have anything to do with your life and you're not interested in it at all, that you can tap into her enthusiasm and support it and be with it and empower her to live in that enthusiasm over reading or whatever it is, that you'll be able to give a gift that Mom, because of what she hadn't forgiven, was not able to give.
Yeah.
Breathe. And then in 6C, to take a look at a time when I didn't fulfill the goal of being clear in my communication with somebody. Has there ever been a time when you didn't have clarity in communicating with somebody?
Yes, mostly in romantic relationships.
Mm. So this will open a space in romantic relationships too to clean this one up. That's awesome. Nice breath. That's the one we're looking for. That's awesome. That's the one that moves the energy on the deepest genetic levels. That's Rukadekucha. In Aramaic, in the ancient Aramaic, when the Greeks translate, God sent out his spirit, doesn't say that's just God sent out his breath. That's the breath that washes to depth. And it happens spontaneously. When you do still point breathing, you're moving into the breath until the space comes where the energy moves on that level and moves spontaneously. And that's where the healing happens.
Mm.
And so can you, in terms of 6C, can you step into compassion for her in not being able to communicate clearly? Having some confusion with whatever's going on for her? Pardon me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what, when she was the 5-year-old in the back of the car was done to her around communication. Who knows? But we can only hold a space for it and help to melt it. and by so doing melt a whole other layer within ourselves. So much of that pain and that grief in the world that's so unnecessary because we live on the surface instead of being willing to drop down into these levels of healing.
Yeah. I feel much better.
Yeah, I'm laying here processing some sadness.
I want to thank you for fighting me to continue with the worksheet.
Cool. Well, thanks for your willingness, and let's do step 7. If you were to, you cancel the goal that you had for her, and now if you were to set a new goal from being, a new loving goal toward this person that you have compassion for, what would your new loving goal be toward her?
To continue dismantling my own anger and sadness.
And what would you offer her out of that?
I don't know if I've gotten to that step yet.
Okay.
I will offer her more understanding.
Yay.
Where she's coming from.
Cool. Sounds like, perhaps a space for developing patience.
Yeah.
And if you think about yourself sitting in the back seat of the car, would have been nice if Mom had had patience.
It would have.
So Tanya, I offer you that space of patience and support for reaching clarity and healing. Jeannie, do you have any input for Erica? Dr. Tim?
I don't. That's awesome. Good job. And I know your meeting will go even better now.
I'm glad I cleared this, because actually I'm going to go read essays to place our incoming student body into their English class, and I don't need to be placing students into an English class angry.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. Nice. Dr. Tim, do you have any thoughts?
Just gratitude. Much gratitude for Erica and people like her who are willing to do the work, and especially those who are willing to call in and share it on the air, because it's a gift. It'll be in the archives. Erica can go back and listen to it and get stuff from it, and so can hundreds of others. So my gratitude.
Yeah, we'll put this one. We'll put this one on the worksheet list. I think this will be number 15 on the list of radio shows where people go back and listen to a worksheet, or walking through the instructions of the whole thing. So, thank you. You just changed the world.
I just let the world change me.
Yeah, well, it's a reciprocal thing, but literally each person who takes an issue like that the average person goes into resistance, and I don't want to look at that, I don't want to feel that, and I don't want to deal with that. Just being willing to step into that and bring love to it literally opens a space for everyone on the planet who's dealing with suffering over an impatient power person, and projecting that suffering over an impatient power person into something that they think is current events, into a construct in their mind of judgment and berating others the way that one was berated. And, these things just get passed on from generation to generation. That story of the Jews wandering for 40 years in the desert had nothing to do with a hot, sandy place. I mean, it's pretty silly when you think about a group of bright people can get lost in a 30-square-mile area for 40 years. What we're talking about and what had to happen in order to get out of the desert into the promised land, which is the place of conscious co-creation, was they said the old generation had to die off. That didn't mean everybody in old physical bodies had to physically die. The root of the word generation is genari, which is cause. These causes, this energy, this cause from a 5-year-old that gets projected, decades later into an interaction, and our mind convinces us the interaction is actually about something outside of us. So it's an awesome piece of learning, an awesome piece of teaching with your willingness, and I am filled with gratitude.
So, actually, she just responded to the messages and basically said there was a miscommunication, and she fixed what I was trying to point out to her. Wow.
I love it. The gentleman that I was talking about at the beginning of the radio show, who had someone who'd sent all these vitriolic emails, the moment that he went in and saw that, oh, I have done something from my own unconscious power person dynamics that I didn't even realize I did, and that was the trigger for these vitriolic emails. He shared with us the next morning that he got an email. I'm not even sure at what hour he got the email, but he got an email from this person back to a space of, oh, I've just had some new insight, and I'm seeing things differently, and wow, how cool is this? I mean, it literally changes the world, but we don't know how much. Don't realize we've not been taught. And in this case, it changes the world in an upward, positive, healing, hopeful direction. The person who just hangs out with their rage and their guilt and their fear has no idea that they're changing the world in a downward, destructive, negative direction. And so it's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Michael and Jeannie and Dr. Tim and everybody who held the space for me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a blessed event in placing your students, and we'll look forward to the next time we get to chat. Much appreciation.
Right. Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Love. Okay. Take care. And we're down to the last few seconds of the show, so we'll just invite everybody to bring a strange to the show tomorrow and take that worksheet and use it. It's monumental in its impact in the world, and it is an impact that's needed today so sorely. And in doing so, you'll create the best year yet of your eternal life, which is an awesome gift to give the world, and we'll see you tomorrow. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael